All right, hello and welcome to yet another edition of Brothas-in-law. I'm Mike Bradley, and I got my co-host with me right here, Corey Taylor. How you doing, Corey? What's going on?
Good. It's good to be back on the show again. Missed everybody last week. Hope everybody had a great Father's Day weekend.
Yeah. And if you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Share this out with everybody that you know. And we got a good one lined up for you today. We actually got 3 videos that we want to show and talk about. You guys saw the headlines of our show, and it's about dealing with mental health issues. Dealing with mental health issues from an officer's perspective that would be handling a call for service, dealing with someone who may have mental health issues. We touched a little bit about it on last week's show, a little bit different, but we're gonna continue along those same lines about it. Okay, what you say about that, Corey?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, man. You cut out. I don't know what's
Oh, did I
going
cut
on.
out? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, with us folks, I might have a little bit of technical difficulties, but I think I'm getting it squared away here with my microphone and stuff. But we're gonna get hey Megan, hey Tone. We missed you last week, Tone. We didn't see you on here last week.
Yeah.
Megan, I think we missed you too.
Hey, man.
But thanks for joining us. Again, we're gonna be talking about mental health issues and how patrol officers deal with a call for service dealing with a mental health issue or someone who may have a mental health problem. Okay. Corey, you got anything to add to that?
No, this would be very interesting. Like I said, we have three videos to show. They're all short. Um, but keep in mind that like last week, Mike, police and mental health shootings are on the rise, and we need to figure out a way to alleviate a lot of these unnecessary shootings. And and we'll talk about it as usual. We'll show the videos first, and then each one, and we'll commentate after each one. But they're all real short. Um, I think the last one that we'll show actually took place in the next city over forest from where I live. Hey, Zach, welcome to the show, brother. Missed you last week as well. Happy belated Father's Day to you. Um, it's sad, and it's becoming more rampant. And when you see all the mental health citizens that are roaming the streets, and no place to go, and COVID doesn't help. People were locked up, but a lot of people have been affected by that. Uh, and and you get a call for service for mental health um, situation, and the officer has to go and respond to that. Well, this first uh, was a call for service of a suspicious person behind, I think it was behind some apartment complex, and then behind some businesses.
Yeah.
Uh, it happened so quick. But you can go ahead and set that one up, Mike, if you want, and I'll go ahead and cue the video up, and we get right into this.
Okay, let's cue it up. And again, this was a call for service. What's it? I think it was Niagara Falls. Back in was it June of last year? I think it was.
No, June of this year,
Okay,
couple weeks ago.
earlier this month.
Yeah, yep.
And a general stop suspicious person. It sounds like the call was, and officers responded, and they find him, they detain him, and they investigate like they're supposed to do. And we'll start the video here shortly, but as you will see, things go south real fast. Now, did this guy have a mental health issue? I don't know. We don't know. As a patrol officer,
I'm not.
Go ahead, Corey.
I'm not 100% on that.
Okay.
But even still, just something had to be going on inside him for him to give the type of reaction he gave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, it's still unknown. I haven't been able to find any articles that stated that if he had any type of a criminal record or what his situation could have been. Because you know just as well as I do, a lot of times these guys don't want to go back to jail, and they're gonna buck on us, and we have to take action by going hands on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm not really sure. So what? Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's a little
Oh,
bit of delay from your speech and the video of you,
there's a
what
little
you're
bit of
saying
this.
for some reason. But I can
Yeah,
hear you. I can hear you. I hope all our viewers can hear you enough to where they can make out what you're saying too. I think they can.
yeah,
I don't see any comments saying they can't. So,
yeah. All
so
right, so let's go ahead.
all
We
right,
go
let's
ahead
get
and
into
get
it.
into it. And like I said, this is a very short one. It's only like 34 seconds. It goes really quick. And there's no audio to this. So the officer makes his approach. He bucks, begins to fight and resist. The officer pulls his taser. And again, Mike, that's one of the ones we always say, hey, these tasers aren't 100%. You can see
No,
the cables, and now he lunges at him.
yeah, what looks like a knife in his hand. And he
Yeah,
tried to attack both these cops
yeah.
real quick. You see how fast that happened? Happened
I'm just gonna
so
play it
quickly.
back one quick.
Happened so quickly that these officers had to be ready for it.
Yeah, and you see, I'm pull it
And
back so
look,
you
the
can see.
taser got knocked out of the officer's hand. You could see that.
Yep.
So that was very ineffective right there. So, and the other officer was able to shoot him with
Yeah.
lethal force.
Yep.
So I just go to show you folks how fast something like that can go down. Whether or not this guy had a mental health issue or not, our point for showing that kind of video was to get you to see. We hear a lot of comments about you can't hurt you with a knife or a knife. Some citizens believe that a knife does not equal a firearm. Rule of thumb for me as an officer: if you got a knife, then I'm gonna have a gun. Now,
Yeah.
in this situation, they had both. They had the taser and a firearm. They were able to fortunately try that taser, but as you see, that taser was completely ineffective, and we can't rely on that taser to do so. That's why you always got to be ready with lethal force when necessary. In this case, fortunately, these officers were ready for it and was able to get a shot off. He was moving so fast that it would have been possible to even miss him on the first or second shot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Keep in mind, shooting a moving person or while you're moving is not as easy as the television makes it look.
Right. I
It
mean,
does take
this ain't
some
Hollywood,
training,
you know.
right? It does take some training and practice to do that
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
But you know, we wanted to warm it up and start to show off with a video to get the blood going, and so we could see how things work out.
I mean, that's a good question. What audience? What do you think? I mean, these situations happen so quickly, and this is why we say you got to give a little grain of salt to the officers before we go pushing, our own buttons, and we start going off the deep end. With the officer was that far, and again, to like you, what you always say, Mike. This is why we are so grateful for body cameras.
Yeah,
This could have very well been a different story if there wasn't body cams on these officers. These things happen quick, and the officers, I think, were justified in this shoot. Now, this young man did not die. However, I did read in one article today that he was still, or he just got out of intensive care on the 17th, but still remains in the hospital. Not quite sure how many times that they shot him, but again, you got to think of his mindset. What was this individual's mindset?
right.
Could he possibly had mental health issues? I don't know, but if you're going to attack the police like that, you got something going on upstairs.
Oh yeah, he was ready to fight, and he was ready to take both of them out if he could.
Yeah,
But like you said, Corey, officers never know what someone may be going through at the time of contact. We don't know if he had any mental health as far as diagnosed mental health issues, or
Mm-hmm.
if he was just going through some kind of trauma or some kind of what's the word? Mental battle or something. What was going on? Maybe he was fed up by being stopped by the cops. We don't know. He might have been
Oh,
thinking
yeah,
about
yeah.
it like that. You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
And
right.
officers, you always got to be ready because you never know
That's
what's
on there.
going through someone's mind. And as soon as
Mm-hmm.
you go hands on, as soon as the officer went hands on, that quick, the guy flipped on him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So officers always got to be ready, and that's why they always think control the situation, control the suspect. If you need to have the suspect sit down on the curb, have them sit down on the curb, cross their legs. There's a reason why we do that. Okay, so you
Mm-hmm.
can't just jump
Mm-hmm.
and run up, or we're better
Mm-hmm.
prepared in case you do get out of control or something. We already at least got you halfway on the ground by having you sit down. Sometimes some
Mm-hmm.
officers say sit down on the bumper of the car, before they actually handcuff you. So
Mm-hmm.
clearly, whatever these officers were doing, it had gotten to a point where they made the decision that, okay, now we're going to have to arrest you,
Mm-hmm.
and just like that, it went fast, hands on, and we fight.
Yep. Zach says, this is why the force is running low on police because you're so arm tied, and what else would you do? And guys, physically attack two police officers. Yeah, police officers are
Well, wait
leaving
till
the
you
force.
see the next two videos, Zach.
Yeah, police officers are leaving in droves because you got to ask yourself, do you really want to be, you got a job to do, but at the same time, you're also thinking, man, if I don't make the right decision, then I'm going to be persecuted. Well, I'm going to be persecuted no matter
Regardless.
what, right? Regardless of what decision you make, you're going to be persecuted because that's the way we allow society to become now. It's now, instead of being the so-called superhero as a police officer, now you're being made out to be the villain, and oh, we need to be kinder and gentler to the criminals now. Um, you know, I get asked all the time, do you miss being a trooper? I say, yeah, I miss it, but I don't think you can get me back out there to do it again. Not for the pay, right? And like
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
with
told
you on
my
that.
son,
I'm with you
I
on that.
told,
I mean, I did it for 26 years. And when I got to the end, you knew it was time to go. It was definitely time to go. And do I miss the job? Like you said, Corey, do we miss it? I miss elements of it, I suppose, but for the most part, the job itself, dealing with calls for service, I don't miss it at all. I just don't miss it at all. Uh, Nowadays, if you get into a fight, if you get into a shooting, and someone feels that you misstepped or you overdid something, or worse, you're afraid to do something and you end up getting hurt because of it, you know it's tricky now being in law enforcement. There are a lot of stresses that you have to deal with today that is a regular thing now, and you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to go through to do a job like that when you could be second guessed every step you make? That's all.
mm-hmm,
And I understand, we can get into whole, you know, you got to be a good officers never have a problem because they don't use excessive force or they don't get into wrongful shootings or anything like that. Well, true. The question
mm-hmm,
is, but the problem is, although that reasonable officer may feel that what he or she did was reasonable, the
mm-hmm,
average citizen and the community may feel differently. You can't
mm-hmm.
judge and determine that. You see what I'm saying? No longer.
Yeah,
You used to could do that, but now you can't. Matter of fact, now it seems like more the opposite of where the is if the community doesn't agree with it, then the officer is wrong. They believe the community now first
right,
before they believe the
right,
police.
and
And that's sad, because
and that and
community
that's
doesn't see it the same way.
and that's why I have a little bit of heartburn because the last thing you want is for an officer to have to second guess themselves, especially when you're dealing with a mental health issue person. Hey, Saul, you you want to help them, but then at the same time, you also have to be able to stop them when they go into attack mode, right?
Right.
And that's a hard decision to make because you don't know when that's going to be, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because uh sadly, because of their mental state. At one minute they could be. I've had individuals where it's like, man, what the hell happened? Like, dude, you were just cool as a fan, with conversating with, heck,
Then
we
all of
talking
a
about
sudden you
sport.
flip.
Yeah. And it's like, oh shoot, now I got to be on my guard. I'm ready. You know, it I mean, I put mental health up there, right with domestics as one of the most serious call for services that you can go on as a law enforcement. For me, I mean, what about you, Mike?
No, yeah, mental health is important, especially today when you have more and more people revealing mental health issues today. And, you know, uh, usually the first person to respond to that call for service is who? The patrol officer. They're the first
Right,
ones that are going to contact that person who is having a mental health crisis or has some mental health ongoing long-term mental health issues. Patrol officers, we all have to consider that when we go to these calls for service. But when I say consider that, remember the number one priority is to make the scene safe. I got to make
that's
sure
right,
that person is safe and that person is not in attack mode
right,
before I can address any mental health issues. Uh,
right.
Time, like we said before, Corey, we used to say this all the time. Time is on our side until it ain't. You see what I'm
Until
saying?
it ain't.
Until the
That's
other
right.
person does something that all of a sudden you have no time and you have to take action. So it's not that officers are not aware of mental health issues. It's not
Hmm.
that they are inconsiderate of mental health issues.
Hmm.
It's just that number one priority is the physical safety of everybody involved. And once they have that figured out and accomplished, now we can
Then we
address the
can
mental health
address. Yep,
issues.
yep, yep.
You know,
Uh,
we all get training of how to communicate with people with mental health issues. You know, and a lot of this training of how to approach someone who may have a mental health issue, it's really instinctual for me as an officer. When I was an officer, I mean, I always talk to people in a calm demeanor. I never meet them up high, like I said before. I always meet them at a calm level so that I can at least try to get their
mhm.
attention. Because if you don't get their attention, you ain't accomplishing nothing. You see
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? And so that's an instinctual thing. What do you say, Corey?
No, you're 100% correct. I mean, you got to uh, assess the whole situation before you can even try to render, I guess you would, aid, for lack of better words, to address their overall problem.
Right.
Is to make sure that the whole scene is safe. I'm trying to go ahead and set this second one up here so we keep it moving along.
Okay.
This one here, uh, man, I saw this one last week, uh, and got dog. I mean,
Yeah, this one happened pretty fast.
this one
Another one
happened.
that happened
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Now, this one took place on June 3rd in Naper Valley, New York. And what happened was an officer was already on a traffic stop with somebody else. Another vehicle you'll see comes up alongside and just stops abruptly, right? And the gentleman gets out and attacks the police officer. Uh, Now, in this case here, this individual ended up losing his life. Um, but again, it's another one of those things that also has to make a split season decision. And when something like this happens, there's no trying to talk him down. I mean, because it just happened too quick, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you ready?
Mm-hmm. Let's get it on.
I think we froze up again.
Okay.
You ready, Mike?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
So he's already on a traffic stop, regular traffic stop.
All right, you can take a picture and send it to me. Who are you? Base, I just been attacked. I just shots fired. Shots fired.
It was kind of freezing up a little bit there, but this is a different angle here. You'll see.
Yeah, this is different. There's no audio on this one. Okay. This is the dash cam, in-car camera.
So you see, just like that, the guy just jumps out of
any loss of
nowhere.
life is tragic.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry, he ran.
No, that's it. I was just gonna say that happened so quickly. Go ahead. I'll let you finish the video. Is it freezing?
Oh, it's done.
It's done. Okay. There you go.
No, it's done. That was it. It's just the public affairs officer just finishing up his comments.
Okay.
I
was going to say, just like that, it happened so fast. This officer was occupied on another stop, and this is an example of why officers got to have their heads on a swivel. You know, you never know. You got to be aware of your surroundings, even though you are on a traffic stop. Not only do you have to be attentive to the person and the vehicle that you're stopping and all that comes with that, you also have to always continue to be aware of surroundings when someone approaches you from a different angle. Number one red flag for me when I was an officer is if an officer's on a traffic stop and a citizen or a vehicle just abruptly comes up to me as I'm on the stop to try to engage me while I'm already in the middle of something, that's a red flag for me. You know, either you don't understand that you should not try to mess with this police officer while he is actually involved in something, or you mean some kind of harm and trying to catch me off guard. You know what I'm saying? So just a rule of thumb, folks, when you see an officer on a traffic stop, don't stop right next to him, in front of him, and try to ask him a question or try to engage him in conversation. He or she is busy and occupied and trying to do a traffic stop. So you don't want to interrupt that at all. If you do see an officer and you do have a very important question or something like that, park a little bit down the street a little ways, wait for that officer to be finished. And then once you see him finish, you can then flag him down and ask him or her that question. Okay.
Yeah.
So this happened so fast, Corey.
That used to be one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people would try to stop when I was already on a stop with somebody, whether it be traffic crash that I was working, or had somebody pulled over and then we get out and then trying to come back and talk to me. At that point, I used to drop everything and I would put my hand along my waist, my belt line, because I didn't know what you were going to do. You just don't stop like that. And then I would, hey, get back in your car, get back in your. And then after I finished with the crash or the other stop I was on, I would go back to them and I would explain to them, you don't do that, right? This officer is busy. His or her attention needs to be on that stop that they're currently on. When you go up there and just bluntly, now I get it, things happen, emergency could have happened, and you just want to alert the of another incident. I get that, but stay in your car until that officer is done with whatever they're previously handling. That used to freak me out, because I look, man, you back in your car, because in this day and time, we don't know. Just like here, I mean, this guy gets out with a hatchet. like he clearly he had some mental health issues going on. He gets shot. Now, unfortunately, and uh, was it death, suicide by a cop? I don't know, Mike. What do you think?
I don't know. I tend to think this guy was. I'm not sure if it was suicide. I think he was just trying to hurt this officer, brutally hurt this officer. I don't think he was trying because he did it so fast that the officer almost didn't have time enough to pull his weapon out on him. You know what I'm saying? So if it wasn't for that officer backing up a little bit, backpedaling a little bit, giving him time and distance to pull his firearm out, you know what I'm saying? Had he not taken those backward steps, he may not have had time to even pull it out because that guy was coming fast with that hatchet.
Yeah,
and this is the thing. This is what officers are. They are always having to pay attention to and be aware. This is why some officers seem so direct sometimes with people when they stop them, because their whole mindset is, I'm trying to be aware of everything that's going on. Forgive me if I don't be customer friendly to you all the time, because I'm just trying to keep this traffic stop safe. Remember, a traffic stop is never just the traffic stop to a police officer. A traffic stop is a combination of things. We have to be aware of you, what you're telling us, what we're telling you. I'm looking for any evidence of a crime inside your car. Are you DUI? Are you high? You see what I'm saying? Remember what we did in one of our earlier shows, Corey? I'm doing kind of like a mini investigation when I do a traffic stop. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just taking a traffic stop at face value, thinking that's all I have to deal with. You see what I'm saying? I'm looking for crime. That's what an officer is supposed to do. Look for crime. And this guy comes up right next to him, abruptly stops, jumps out within a half second with a hatchet in his hand. And fortunately, that officer was able to survive that and get a shot off. And to answer your question, Tone, says, shouldn't the officer had been on the passenger side of the vehicle he stopped to avoid the flow of traffic? That's not necessarily a requirement when in my department. However, highway patrol might be different. But as a patrol officer, the officers in the city, we had our choice. It was our choice whether we wanted to approach you on the passenger side or whether we wanted to approach you on the driver's side. And that depends on some things. It depends on the landscape where you stop. Depends on how many people might be in the vehicle. Depends on whether it's daytime or nighttime. If it's nighttime, I'm lighting you up with every light I got on my patrol car to include my flashlight. And at nighttime, I might approach on the passenger side because I'm not being profiled, silhouetted by the bright patrol lights on my patrol car. So I might walk around the back, and do it that way. So there's not really a set answer. Anything with you, Corey? Was that a common practice with you?
No, it really just depends on. We look at it as officer safety. We would like for you to do a passenger side approach, but it always doesn't work out that way. To me, it just depends on where they would stop. I could get them to stop. I would say probably about 80% of the time I did driver side approach. And that's because for me, I was a lefty, and I made sure that I always kept my gun away from them. Because I've seen, a lot of training videos. I'm sure you've seen them where, if you're right handed and you come up to that door and you got a passenger, they can reach for your gun right there. So I always like to keep my service weapon away from individual. Now, if nobody was in, if it's daylight, obviously, and I can see that nobody's in there and we're in a good place, yeah, I'm gonna do a passenger side approach. But in this situation here, Tom, I mean, it didn't seem like it wasn't that busy of a street. So maybe the officer felt that it was okay for him to do a driver side approach. But either or, I mean, I don't think, even if he did a passenger side approach, Mike, I think this guy was still going to stop anyways. I think he was I mean, we don't know, and I'm speculating. I mean, because just based on how he stopped the way he did, I think he had the intentions of doing harm to somebody. I don't know, maybe a police officer. I don't. Could he have possibly been on his way to harm somebody else? And he said, I'm just gonna end it
I
all
got
right
this.
now.
Yeah, never know.
Yeah, end it
Never know.
all right now and attack this police officer because I know me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I mean, it's that's out of the ordinary. That's not normal,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not normal.
No, no. But keep in mind, officers are constantly in that state of trying to anticipate what's not normal, right?
Right, right.
We're on a traffic stop. We're constantly in that state of mind of trying to make sure everything is safe, make sure what I'm seeing is what I'm supposed to be seeing, make sure that there's nothing that's not what I'm supposed to be seeing. There's a lot of things. There's so many things that are going through an officer's mind. It's never just like you said, Corey. You used to always say that. It's never just a simple traffic stop. There's no simple traffic stops really.
Yeah, there's no routine traffic stops, and
No
that
routine. There you go. No
that
routine
still
stop.
burns my skin when I hear people say, oh, it was just a routine traffic stop. No, it wasn't. I would explain to me what's so routine, right? And I mean, if you want to get me spun up, that's always the one thing to get me spun up. Still, and, I'm not even a police officer anymore. But you go and starting that, oh, it was just a routine traffic stop. Now we finna have some words. Because there's no such thing as a routine traffic stop. The only thing that was routine was me marking on duty and marking off duty. That was the only thing that was routine.
And we're thankful that was routine.
Right, and we thankful for that. So, and let's go ahead and get into this last video.
All right. Now keep in mind, folks, we're showing you the first two. It was very quick. So, and there's a method to this madness. So stay with us because we're gonna talk about how time is on our side or is not on our side when it comes to dealing with mental health issues. You see what I'm saying? So let's hit this last one. A little different.
Let me say this one. This one happened in Portsmouth, Virginia. It was about 20 minutes away from me, depending if you do the speed limit or not. This happened on Sunday, Father's Day. It was called for service. A suspicious person laying in a citizen's yard. Then the gentleman gets up and then goes and starts rummaging through the citizen's front porch. It was one of those enclosed front porches. And while he's in there, he ends up taking out a those grilling forks, the real long ones.
Yeah.
About like 8-10 inches long, 12 inches long.
Long barbecue forks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he ended up taking one of those out. So the police arrive, and he's by himself, right? And when it starts, you hear him again, like we said earlier, Mike. Time is on our side. He's giving this young man ample time to drop the utensil. And again, you can't see it in here, but if you listen closely, and I try to turn this up as much as I can, you can hear the pops, and those pops are the taser gun being deployed. Well, again, you'll see here it doesn't affect this gentleman. Now, backstory is this guy has mental health issues. I think he's 19 years old. He graduated high school last year. And then the family said he had a bad breakup with his girlfriend, and he hasn't been right ever since then. All right, so police are called to the scene. Go ahead, Mike.
Just real quick, for people who don't realize, if I show up and you got a pitch, basically like a pitchfork in your hand, a barbecue long, one of those long forks, people will say, well, it wasn't a gun, so you shouldn't have shot him. Well, it's not the case. If you have anything that can either cause me serious bodily injury or death, I'm drawing down on you. You know what I'm saying? it is something that you can stab the mess out of somebody with. Yeah, and I'm not gonna let you get close to me when you holding that if you coming towards me with that. So keep just folks keep that in mind. And it don't always have to be a firearm that someone is holding for them to be armed. This person is armed when he's got that pitchfork in his hand and refusing to put it down. That's what you call an armed suspect in a patrol officer's mind. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Now you won't see the gentleman get shot. They went back and edited the video. They edited that part out. And I don't know if you can hear the pops.
He tries to tase him, it doesn't work. The guy just keeps walking along the curbside here. This is another citizen that is recording this, by the way.
Now this is a citizen record police officer's body camera or nothing. All right, so at that last part, that's when he was saying, "Do it, do it, do it." You can see him getting faster in his stepping, and it's hard to see the object. He has it in his right hand. And he's starting to pick up his step. You see him walking a little faster.
Yeah. You see how this officer is backpedaling. Well, how long do you want him to backpedal? He's got to take a stand at some point.
All right, so at that point, can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, I can hear you.
At that point, when he made that cross, going back into the middle of the road, that's when the officer still continues to back up. They actually get back to the opposite side of the street, and underneath the tree there, that's where he ends up shooting him. Now, when the officer shot him, after he shot him, the officer's still backing up. He then falls back himself on the street and then gets himself back up. Now, again, he's shooting. You got everybody outside. If you've seen on the left side, you had the gentleman in the yard, and there was another lady out there as well. The officer's telling them to get back. You got the car behind him that the citizen was recording the video. She's behind him, so the officer's got to worry about is this person gonna run up and hit me? He doesn't know who that. Well, I know who the lady is. But he doesn't know who she is, and she's behind him, right? So, and you got this gentleman here with this utensil, big ass utensil in his hand, wondering about what he's gonna do. And Saul is exactly right. Yeah, that 15 or 20-foot rule. That hey, I don't want you any closer than that. You get to 20 foot, that's danger zone. That's deadly force. Right, because like you said at the beginning of this video, Mike, he just had it was just a knife. He just had a knife. No, well, that knife can kill you. You get too close to me.
Yeah, you don't know what kind of skill level he has with that knife. You don't know, you don't know how sharp the knife is. There are so many uncertainties that you've already crossed the point of having of getting deadly force. You've already crossed that threshold without stabbing somebody. you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to let you get that close. And keep in mind, you see how he kept backpedaling. And you know, backpedaling is fine. Maybe you can justify and say, well, it gave me time to try to continue to talk to him as I was backpedaling. But at some point,
well,
you got to take a stand.
He actually, Mike, was in a sense trying to de-escalate by backing up, because he's trying to let him know, hey, I'm not a threat. I'm here to help you, but you need to drop that.
Yeah.
You need to drop that. I'm not going to let you get close to me. You know, the time is on his side, right? I'm sure
until it wasn't.
See, he was until it wasn't. I mean, he was trying to get back up there again. This department is undermanned, so I don't know how far out his backup was. Right? Again, those things we talked about earlier. You know, people don't want to do this job anymore because of all the backlash police officers receive, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, to sit here and say, oh, he could have waited for backup, you don't know who else was on shift. You don't know what manpower was for that day.
That's true. I
Right.
mean, there may not have been any backup close enough to handle that situation. Not only that,
Yeah.
he was by himself. The guy is still advancing. You know, he still got this pitchfork. Who knows what his mental state is at that point? Is he going? This is the things that I would be thinking about as an officer. Is he going to hurt someone else? If I can't just walk away from him. You see what I'm saying? He's got something sharp in his hand. It's now, if he didn't have this pitchfork in his hand, would that have changed the scenario a little bit? Maybe. Yeah. I wouldn't have felt that it was a situation where I had to use, I wouldn't have even had to pull my firearm out, maybe. You see what I'm saying?
No.
The only reason I would have pulled my firearm out is because he has a weapon in his hand, a long barbecue pitchfork. And he was already being suspicious. It already technically has stolen the pitchfork from someone else's porch, was laying on someone else's lawn and going through and rumbling through someone else's porch. So you don't know what the mental health state is of this guy or what he might do with this newly found pitchfork that he has in his hand. So you have to at least address him, and you have to stop and detain him and make him safe and see if there's anything that you can do for him. You see what I'm saying? But before you even get to that point, you have to make that scene safe, which is he's got to drop that pitchfork. You can't address anything else as an officer until the threat of him physically harming someone is taken care of. You see what I'm saying? And now he had mental health issues. The argument will always be, well, the officer didn't handle his mental health issues. Well, you don't have time to handle mental health issues at that point. And as we showed you the first two videos, at what point did those officers have any time to deal with someone's mental health issues? At that moment, at that second, when they had to take action, they did not have time to be a counselor at that point. It was their job to basically stop the threat. You see what I'm saying? Take care of that physical threat first. Hopefully, we can get past that physical threat and then address mental health issues. Are there any resources can we offer? Are you suicidal? Do you feel like hurting anybody else? You do a 5150 evaluation at that point.
Yeah, I agree with Saul. You know, the guy gave him multiple times to drop it, but I don't know if you could hear in the video. The gentleman kept saying, "Hey, do it, do it, do it," as if he was wanting the police officer to shoot him. And report is he is still alive. I think he got shot 5 times, but he still is alive. My question is, I'll pose this question to Mike and to our viewers. Do you all feel that the families bear some responsibilities in individuals with mental health in regards to, okay, like the police had no idea this guy was a mental health problem until he gets on scene. But then again, he really doesn't know what he has because he hasn't had a time to really evaluate him, because he's trying to get him detained so he can talk to him, figure out where his mindset is to try to say, okay, all right, well, before we go to jail, we need to get you mentally evaluated. But I'm sure he's reached uh, by now to know that, okay, yeah, something's definitely not right with him. But do you think the family's bearing responsibility is, if I know my child or someone had mental health issues,
Mhm.
uh, I'm gonna make sure somebody's gonna keep tabs on him. Uh, if I know I have to leave the house, I'm not gonna let him just up and leave and wander the streets, knowing he has mental health issues.
I think that depends on a lot of things. If you have
Hmm.
someone who has mental health issues, and well, first of all, if you choose to allow them to live with you, okay, and they have mental health issues, I
Hmm.
agree with you in that part. If you choose to take on that responsibility, you
Right.
have some level of I don't want to say responsibility, because you're not their boss. They still can do whatever they want to do, or whatever you know what I'm saying. But they should consider, number one, if this person has the potential to be violent because of their mental health issues, or if they have the potential to be non-communicative with people. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be a bad idea to call a police department, call your local law enforcement, and just let them know, hey, I have someone here with mental health issues. But then again, you also running into HIPAA laws and stuff like that. I mean, is it illegal, or should you make a point to call a police department and say, hey, my roommate's got mental health issues? I don't necessarily want to come across like that either. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't have to. But if it's something where you get word that this mental health person is out and about somewhere, okay, and you are concerned as a family member that this mental health person might get into something crazy or something, it might be a good idea to just call your local law enforcement and just let them know, hey, buddy of mine's got mental health issues. He left the house upset. Just be on the lookout for him in case you guys get a call on him or something like that. Expand on what he might have done for police to have to contact him, because not every mental health patient is a police issue. We all know that. You see what I'm saying? But if it's something where you feel that
Hmm.
that mental health person is going to
You right.
harm someone or something, then yeah, they do have a responsibility, I think. But that's
Well,
very specific.
I'm just saying, because when something like this happens, then we automatically turn to blame the police, right? We want to point the fingers at the police. The police should have done uh, more to. They didn't have to shoot him. Is they're gonna say you didn't have to shoot him. Well, he was getting ready to attack me with a big ass pitchfork uh,
Then he started
utensil,
walking
and
towards me, started
what am
charging
I
towards
supposed
me.
to do? Let him attack me?
No, no,
No.
that's
I
true.
mean,
You already tried the taser a couple of
right.
times. It didn't
You
work.
already tried the taser.
Because fortunately you had enough time to try the taser. Let's make that clear. You don't always
Hmm.
have time for a taser. If you coming at me with a pitchfork, I'm not going to grab my taser. That's not going to be the first thing I'm going to grab unless I have time to manipulate the situation to do so. If you come in charging towards me with a pitchfork, I'm shooting you
Oh
with a
yeah,
firearm. You see what I'm saying?
hands down.
Yeah. So let's get that out the way right now. And Saul, you're right. You're right. The biggest responsibility there for family members, making sure all weapons are secured in the home and things like that. Um, and that the BOL, be on the lookout for the folks who don't know, all the time from families. That's definitely something that's was kind of where I was going with letting the police department know that they're out and about and they may harm someone or they may be a danger to themselves. We used to get those calls all the time. Can you evaluate this person for 5150? Remember we talked about 5150 mental health evaluation, and we get those calls all the time. Such left my house. It seemed upset. He's got mental health issues. He might need to be evaluated for mental health issues. And we would respond and we would contact that person, But you got to have the time to address mental health, And tell you the truth, Corey, in times like these, in that moment, people should understand that there's no time for, okay, you got mental health, so we gonna take it easy on you and let you go. No, you got to address this physical threat first, no matter what mental health problems you might have. In this case, this guy kept saying, do it. I don't know if he was trying to commit suicide by cop, we call it. I don't know if he's just had some mental health issues where he just wanted to continue to say that. But nonetheless, the officer is still presented with the same threat.
That's what it looked like to me, Mike. Katrina said, if you carry a taser, you're required to use it first, or can you pull your weapon first? Well, first of all, we didn't carry tasers, so I would have been obviously drawing my service pistol. But I would imagine if I did carry a taser, I would try to use less than lethal first, because the last thing I want to do, because I know if I use my service pistol, I'm shooting you center mass, and 9 10 10, you're going to end up dead, and I don't want you dead. So I'm gonna try to handle it the lowest level first, try to get you detained first by using less than lethal, and then allow that escalation of force to either stay where it is, or I have to take it up to the next level. And in this case, the guy opted to use his taser first. The taser was non-effective. So the next thing he had to do, now you're not going to break out your OC spray, because depending on it, you got wind conditions, it can blow back on you, or you got to get close enough to use it to be real effective with OC spray. And I'm not going to use my asp either, or nightstick, because that means I still had to get close to you. So I don't want to get close to you when you have a dangerous weapon like that. So the last resort is to use your service weapon. In this case, he went from taser straight to lethal, from non-lethal to lethal, which I have no problem with that. What say you, Mike?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. But she says, are you required to use a taser first? Absolutely not. You're not. We are not required to use a taser first. You use a taser if you feel the situation is advantageous to a taser. If I have time to use a taser, usually, rule of thumb, when two officers respond to a call like that, it's common practice for one officer to be ready with lethal force, a firearm, and the other officer be ready for non-lethal force, a taser. We carry tasers, but as Corey said, not every department carries tasers. We had a taser and firearm. And matter of fact, we got rid of it. When I got my taser, I got rid of the pepper spray. I didn't even carry pepper spray after I got a taser. But you'd be ready for both. And if you have the opportunity to use a taser, less lethal, meaning that person isn't rushing you with a knife, or that person isn't rushing you with some kind of deadly threat, let me make that clear. What an officer perceives as a deadly threat, then you can go straight to a firearm. If I was by myself in this situation, I can see how that officer had plenty of time to use a taser, because he was backpedaling and he had time. The guy wasn't quite rushing yet. The guy was giving him time to use those other less lethal options. They didn't work, and rightfully so, he went up to a firearm. He had no other choice but to go to a firearm.
Brenda said, "Hey, welcome, Brenda. Thank you for joining our show tonight." She said, "Why would a taser not work?" Well, I mean, sometimes it has an effect on people. In this case, he might have been high on some type of drugs too, where it wasn't effective on him. We don't know if the prongs from the taser got uh, took to him, stuck into him real good.
Yeah,
That could have been an issue. It could have been a default in the taser cable that he had. So there's a multitude of reasons why the taser wasn't working. That's why I'm not a big fan of tasers, because they can be ineffective at any time. If
that's
that
the
person
thing.
wearing bulky clothes,
Right
uh,
there, you
it,
go. There you
it
go.
it's not going to work.
It's not
Um,
100% because a lot of things, like Corey was saying, can make it not work. If you got bulky clothing on, the darts are not getting into your skin properly. They're not, you're not hitting your target perfectly. Um, Maybe the spread of the darts are not wide enough, or things like there are other technical reasons why a taser may not work, or like you say, sometimes it just don't affect some people, especially if the dart doesn't go in properly. If it's got to go
right.
into your skin, if it doesn't go in properly, well, it ain't going to work properly. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
So that's why a taser is not, 100%, and we don't rely on the taser as necessarily as our first line of defense. Now, in our department, we had more than a taser. We also had a beanbag shotgun, which is also considered less than lethal. It's basically a shotgun that shoots beanbags out at you instead of a bullet. And yeah, it hurts like hell if you get hit with a beanbag from a shotgun, but it's less lethal. It ain't gonna kill you when used the proper way. Can it kill you? Yeah, you shoot somebody in the head with a beanbag shotgun, you might kill them. You see what I'm saying? It's very
You hit them
possible,
right.
but
Yeah.
it's still considered less lethal. Now,
Hmm.
if you have the luxury of an officer with a beanbag shotgun, an officer with a taser, and an officer with a firearm, then that's luck. That's like the Cadillac
Right.
of
Right.
police
Right.
response right there. I got
Right.
3 officers with 3 levels of force. We can try them all, and hopefully the lowest level works. If that don't, we go up to the next, and we go up to the next. You see what I'm saying? But if the situation changes and that suspect changes that situation where we no longer have time on our side, then you can jump straight to that firearm.
Hmm.
But that's a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah. And Saul makes a good point too. It's like, a lot of times, like we just said, they're not going to work if that adrenaline is pumping in them. That's another factor why possibly wouldn't work on them, or they got, you know, their body's full of all kind of drugs, heroin, cocaine, crack, you name it. A lot of this stuff ain't gonna affect these folks because they have so much in them. But I like this conversation tonight. I hope you all enjoyed it. So if you all could just take the time to like this and share this out tonight to help Mike and I, that would be great. We love it, and share it to everybody on your Facebook and throughout social media. Great engagement tonight, and we thank all of y'all for showing up tonight and enjoying this conversation. Uh, we want to bring home the point of mental health
Yeah.
and the process, uh, what officers have to go through, and how quickly they have to make a decision. And you know, yes, it's about mental health, but primarily it's about officer safety and rendering the scene safe first before the officer can get to the mental health part. Right? I
Right.
can't help you if you got a weapon. Right? We need to get
Right.
that weapon taken away. But then, like you said, Mike, all that goes out the window when they then in turn try to attack you.
Yeah, yeah, it
So
goes through it. It's not that, and this is from a patrol officer's point of view, how a patrol officer deals with mental health on a call for service where someone has mental health. And that's typically how it works. That's typically how it functions. Again, not that officers don't consider mental health, not that officers don't have any training in dealing with people with mental health. I would be surprised today of patrol officers hitting the street with absolutely no training on dealing with mental health issues. You see what I'm saying? I'd be shocked to see that. It may be, but modern day society, most officers should have training on dealing with mental health. And when you have the time to deal with mental health issues, you can deal with it effectively. You see what I'm saying? Whether that person needs help, whether that person needs to be put on a mental health hold and sent off to a mental health facility. You see what I'm saying? Those are things that the patrol officer can do if they determine it needs to be done. Now, once you get to the mental health system, in that system, well, we don't have any say so in that. We can't answer that. That would have to be a mental health professional that will tell you how patients are handled once they're in the system. We're not doctors. We're just first responding evaluators to be able to try to determine if you need to speak to a mental health professional right now or not. We are there to try to talk to you, to try to get through to you on what you need to do and what you don't need to do, trying to convince you to do what we need you to do versus what you don't need to do. Okay, and that's a point of view from patrol officers, how they deal with mental health issues on calls for service.
Yep. So with that being said, again, we thank y'all tonight for joining us. We'll be back next Thursday, 8 o'clock sharp. Well, 8:05 actually. Give us a couple extra minutes to get set up and get our thought process together. But we'll be back next week with a video or a topic of discussion. So thank you, God, for joining us. And again, hit that like button and share this out to everybody. We love y'all and have a blessed evening and have a great weekend. And we'll see y'all next week.
Peace out.